Hey, everyone. Thanks for checking out the podcast today. Chris and Jason here, Private Lenders Podcast. Today, we are talking about the importance of database marketing. We're going to get into exactly what that means, how we use it, probably on like a basic level and a more advanced level as well, and just how important it is for long-term growth.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what type of business model you're in. Obviously, we're tailoring this conversation to hard money lending and private lending, but there's so much value in your database that so many people forget. And I've used this example before, but imagine if you have a storefront and somebody walks into your store and they don't buy anything and they walk out, right? Well, you spent marketing dollars and you spent time and effort to get somebody to come to your store, advertisements to get somebody to come to your store, and they left, and now you don't even know who they are. Well, the benefit of running things online and running your business, when we're in 2021 right now, is you can capture their information. You can get their email address. You can do that digitally online, or you can do that offline. If you meet somebody offline at an auction, a RIA group, a meetup group, and you get your business card, you can put them into your database. Or online, you may want to do paid advertisement on Facebook, Google, but you don't necessarily need to. You can do that by just having a web presence and having opt-in forms on your websites. Somebody fills out a loan application. Somebody calls you and asks for some information, right? And you get their email address. Well, now you have a database, and it's growing, and it grows over time. And that's kind of how this snowball, let's call it, the snowball of potential. We can call them customers. They might not be clients now, but you have customers that are interested in your service. They're interested in either borrowing money from you, maybe even investing capital with you. And there's your database, right? And it grows from there.
Yeah, so a long time ago, marketing legend, we'll call him Dan Kennedy. You may or may not be familiar with him, but he's written a ton of books. He's a really, really sharp business guy and has been for decades now. And he said that whoever can afford to pay the most to acquire a client wins. And what he means by that is if you can, through database marketing, monetize the clients you're paying to acquire over and over and over, like say your competition brings in revenue of an average of, call it $10,000 per new customer, and you can bring in 30 because you're doing more and more business with them over the years through effective database marketing. Well, now on the front end, you can spend way more than your competition can and acquire as many clients as you want because you can afford to pay more to get them because you're going to monetize it way better later.
Yeah, that's right. And the goal of this game is it's numbers. It's sheer numbers. I mean, the majority of the people that you talk to are not going to be qualified to work with. They don't have a deal ready to go right now. Maybe they don't agree with your terms right now. Maybe they didn't get the property under contract, whatever the case is, right? So you can't expect to talk to 10 people a month and close a deal or two from that. It's just not realistic. So this isn't to frighten anybody, but we get about 1,000 inquiries every month. We get 1,000 leads that we go through every month. And that's in our local office. And then we also get 1,000 in our Philadelphia and New Jersey office as well. So, we get a few thousand leads every month that we go through. And we obviously have systems and scripts and stuff like that to go through these quickly that we've talked about. But the funny thing is the majority of these are the majority of our loans closed are repeat borrowers, right? So like out of these thousands, we're trying to just get a few. Now, again, the benefit of this database is that every time a lead or inquiry comes in, we're capturing their information, right? So we have them in our email database, so we can market to them day after day, week after week, month after year, etc. Because again, like I said at the beginning, the people that reach out to you today, they might have a deal right now. So if somebody calls you on the phone and says, "Hey," and let's say they're really qualified, right? "Hey, typically I buy in cash, but I'm a little bit tight on funds right now. I have a property I want to buy for 200. I'll put up 100. I just need 100 from you." And it's like, great, we're in, let's do it. Then they don't get the property under contract, but now you don't have their email address. How are you going to follow up with them over and over and over? Like, you have to follow up with them. So the goal of all this, and the reason why we get so many leads is not because, someone's opening up the phone book or someone's going to a website or to calling us every time. It's because we send out emails on a regular basis with good content, staying in front of these clients. So they're like, "Oh crap, I did just get a property under contract. Let me call them and see what their current rates are." And we're in front of them.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the nuts and bolts of our database marketing and see what maybe you can apply to your business as well. So it happens all the time that we'll look at Infusionsoft, which is the database that we use for keeping customer info on the lead side, not when you get down the road to loan servicing and all that stuff, but just, leads and emails and that kind of stuff we use Infusionsoft. And it's very common that we'll look at somebody who just closed a loan with us for the first time in 2021, call it. Yet they came into our system 5 years ago. They first requested a report, and then maybe they applied for a loan in 2018 or something like that. And finally in 2021, they closed the first deal with us, right? We bring in the first revenue from a lead that came in 5 years ago. It happens all the time. And okay, so some of the touch points that we do is going to depend on the information we can get from a lead. So it could just be an email. So you don't have a whole lot of info there. You get an email, maybe a name. Same if they fill out like a free report, you get a name and email. Contact us. You might get a phone number as well. If you get a loan application, now you're getting a lot more info. You're getting all the contact info, where they live, mailing address, where they're buying, property address, stuff like that. And based on what you have in your system, you can reach out to them in different ways. Obviously, emails, number one, go to. We do a couple of those a week and have forever. Brings in a ton of deals, keeps us in front of people over a long period of time. We're set up for text messaging, which we use much less, kind of sparingly, like as needed, but we built out kind of a complicated system to do that. So I wouldn't say that's totally required, but it's possible. And then we also have, since we have so many phone numbers, we can do voice broadcasts. So that's when oftentimes Jason, maybe some of our other business partners in other markets, will record a voice message, and then it will be blasted out to everyone's voicemail. So the phone doesn't ring, just a voicemail shows up. And it'll be something about like, hey, if you need to close by the end of the month, or, maybe offering some kind of discount or some free info, something like that. And you can touch people in all these different ways. And once it works at 100 people, 1,000, 10,000. Even just 100 potential leads is going to bring you leads, right? So there's really no reason to start if the database is small or non-existent, because you got to start somewhere, right? And then you keep putting people in there and you keep touching them over time. And over enough years, it turns into a very, very real thing.
Yeah. And if you wanted to, you could add direct mail into that because you have that contact information.
Direct mail, true.
I mean, think about it like this. So let's say you're starting from scratch, right? You're starting from scratch, right? So, and let's say in 30 days, in a 30-day time frame, you want to build up your database. Okay, so you go to some auctions, you go to some RIA groups, you go to some meetup groups, right? A little bit challenging right now with COVID, but in general, when those are offline, hand out business cards, you collect business cards, right? There's no reason you can't get a few dozen business cards, not 100 business cards in a month, just from potential investors, right? I'm not stating that they're necessarily going to turn into a deal, but you don't know, right? Somebody they might do, right? So you have that. You're talking with mortgage brokers. You're talking with real estate agents. You're getting business cards. You're meeting people. You're talking to people, right? Now you have a social profile on your website, and you put up some Facebook ads, maybe just some Facebook posts. It says, "Hey, do you want to learn, how to get, high leverage as a real estate deal? How do you want to learn how to work with a private lender?" Something like that, right? And they come to your website, they fill out a little opt-in form, and you send them a little white paper, or schedule a call to work with me. Whatever. Some people call, maybe a few people are calling you when you're on the phone with them and say, "Hey, listen, I'd love to follow up with you. Again, can I get your email address?" Right? So all of a sudden you have a few hundred people in that database, and it grows 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 until you have tens of thousands of people. And again, I don't know if people don't do this because they feel like overwhelmed. It's like, well, most of these guys are, aren't going to turn into deals. And that's true. They aren't. But that being said, you can't judge a book by its cover. You don't know which one. I mean, we did loans for somebody that we met 10 years ago that wasn't qualified 10 years ago, and now they are, right? Over and over and over. Let me tell you, most borrowers and most clients, somebody who has a real estate deal that they just put under contract, they might not fully remember who you are, that you met them at a meetup group, right? But if you're staying in front of them on a regular basis and you hit them right at the right time, and if you're emailing them at least once a week, you're going to be hitting them in the right time. They're like, "Oh yeah, I did actually just get a property under contract and I was looking for financing. I'm glad you reached out to me." That happens every day. Every single day, someone's like, "Oh, it's perfect timing. I just got a property under contract." And it's like, well, we do email broadcasts multiple times a week. So it's always perfect timing.
Yeah.
This is like when we do private consulting with some of our clients, like this is non-negotiable. This is like, you have to create your email database. You have to.
Yeah.
That is the way it works. If we're short on closings for the month, cool. Let's do another pretty aggressive email broadcast that says, "Hey, you want to close by the end of the month? There's still time. Reach out today," type of thing.
Sure. Yeah, it has some interesting effects, and they're really all positive. Like, definitely that one, like, oh, I just got an email from you today, and it turns out I have to close a deal in 3 days, and it's really big, and the lender backed it. Like, that happens. Picked up a couple months ago an $800,000 deal in Bethesda, Maryland that way. And granted, like, it's always perfect time because we're doing this a couple times a week anyway, but to them, that's how they perceive it. And in addition, like, if you're in front of people enough with content, with email, with writing, videos, whatever it is, over time, and you probably have this feeling about other people, you feel like you get to know them. Like, if you've seen someone on video enough times, or people listen to this podcast, and just like I listen to people's podcasts, over time you really feel like you know them, yet you haven't ever actually met the person. And when you do, or when there's an opportunity to do business with them, they're really going to want to do business with you. They'll be like, I know this guy. I've been hearing him give out good information on videos and in emails for 2 years now. I definitely, like, they're not going to shop around. They want to do business with you, right? So that's another kind of unexpected, huge benefit from dating.
Yeah, and think about this in general. Let's say you want to buy something in general, or let me think of a good way to phrase this. In general, you know how you typically, if you have something on your mind that you want to buy, so it's like, hey, I'm in the market to, I don't know, buy a new watch. I'm in the market to buy a new car. Like, you notice that exact same car on the road. You notice those watches. You notice that billboard, or you might remember one of those things. It's the same way. Like, we're not passively marketing. We're like, hey, I'm driving down the road. Oh, I need a hard money loan. I just see their billboard. We're actively pursuing these customers, and we're emailing them proactively over and over and over and over. So when the right time comes, it's good. And we're not going to go into depth, unfortunately, related to what we market to them. We've done lots of videos related to that, but just content in general, provide value. It doesn't need to be, send me a loan, send me a loan, send me a loan. We have the cheapest rates. We have this, we have that. Like, that's not great marketing in general. Provide value. So typically what we do is we might do a video, we might do a blog post, we might, do a case study, and we send an email blast out, be like, hey, check out Chris doing this video related to so-and-so. And at the end, it's like, by the way, if you have a deal that needs to close by the end of the month, give us a call or shoot us an email, right? So we provide value, and then we have some sort of hook with a call to action as well. And it works. And I mean, I can't tell you, people are like, oh, I've been following you for so long, I just never had the deal, or I never had a deal that fits your mold, and now I do. Thanks for being in front of me at the right time. Right.
Yeah, and I think that's all we need to discuss today related to that particular part of it, which is, what is the content? Like Jason said, just focus on something that provides value to real estate investors. You sending out an email broadcast saying you closed a $400,000 loan in La Jolla last month doesn't provide value to any real estate investors, right? So I would say just be a little bit more creative than that and think about what would help them in their business. Yeah,
exactly. So if we provided value today on the Private Lenders Podcast, we'd super, super, super appreciate it if you could give us a quick 5-star review on whichever platform you are listening to this on. And we'd appreciate it. We'd appreciate it. One of the jokes that Chris and I have is, we talk about hard money all day, all night. It's all we think about. We love this business model. So instead of talking to ourselves, just the two of us, we might as well just hop on camera, hop on audio, hop on, however you're watching or listening to this, and share it with the world. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's Private Lenders Podcast, and we'll chat with everybody.